Hey there, you've found Hidden Trevor, where X never ever marks a spot. I'm your host, Trevor. On today's episode of my YouTube channel, I have all 136 Division I FBS college football logos in front of me. We're going to do a little thing called a tier list. For those of you who don't know what that is, mom, dad, grandma, you basically take any category of things and you categorize them. So I've got the tiers labeled up here. Elite, great, good, mid, bad, and rebrand immediately. So I'm going to be taking each of these logos and I'll be putting them into one of those categories. And honestly, a lot of the letter logos are going to fall into the mid category just because they're inoffensive. They're not good or bad, really, but they're just boring, including my alma mater. We'll get there. But yeah, there's a few colleges out there that really should consider rebranding. Stay tuned for who you think those will be. I do think this transcends just sports in a lot of ways because branding is really important. It's the outward image you show to the world, and if your branding sucks, I don't know what to tell you. Do something about it. Yeah. And it's not like that should be that hard. I mean, each of these schools has an art department. Just find a student from the art department. Like, you don't need to pay some big firm a bunch of money to draw a logo. When it comes to like merchandising and stuff like that, yeah, sure, get a company involved. But like just creating the logo, you have an art department. These are in alphabetical order, and any team that goes by like an acronym, it will be the first letter of that acronym. So first up is Air Force. Blue and white are their colors. They're out of Colorado Springs, I think. It's just an A and an F. And it's not like a particularly interesting font. So they're going to go straight into mid. If I can grab it. There we go. Up next is the Akron Zips. I love my MAC teams, the Mid-American Conference, but Akron, what are you doing? It's not a great logo. Their colors are blue and gold. I mean, that's an A, I guess. And yes, I know there's like a little hidden Z in there for the Zips. That's their team name. But I just don't like it, especially compared to their previous branding. They need to rebrand immediately. And then we have a classic logo next. We have Alabama, the Crimson Tide, out of Tuscaloosa. Crimson and white, keeping it simple. You got like a little flare there in the A. I really like it. I think it transcends the boring letter logo thing quite a bit. I will say I think it's a great logo. It doesn't really communicate what a Crimson Tide is, or like it doesn't have the elephant from some of their other alternate logos or anything like that. So, it's just a letter, but it's a good letter. So, Appalachian State. I am a Michigan fan. Spoiler. So App State fans, you're welcome. They're in the FBS because they beat Michigan in 2007. Let's be real. They're a good program though, historically. Their logo is just an A, but they have the cursive in there, probably too small to see in this format. It says Mountaineers on it. That's their nickname. It's kind of boring, not gonna lie. So it's going into mid. Arizona State. They have a pitchfork for a logo. The Sun Devils is their team name. I don't know why they're before Arizona here, but that's okay. Yeah, it's the pitchfork in yellow and maroon. Wouldn't say it's like iconic or anything. I think the actual cartoon Sun Devil guy is more iconic, and that really should be the focus of their branding. So I'm just gonna put it in good because it's, I think good is fair for Arizona State. Arizona, the Wildcats. So they do have a letter logo, but they kind of got like a layered thing going on, you know? Red, white, and blue looks good. Can't go wrong with that color scheme. And the extra outline is key because that kind of makes it work. It's really interesting because I've never seen like other letters in that kind of style before, so it gets bonus points there. I think it does transcend the boring logo or letter logo thing, and I think it's comparable to Alabama's A, so we'll put it in great. Arkansas, the Razorbacks. If you didn't know what a Razorback was, I think the logo is a pretty good hint. It's like a wild hog type thing, wild boar. I think their logo is pretty awesome. It's aggressive and mean looking, which is important. You can't go wrong with red and black. Yeah, all around looks good. So we'll put it in. I think it's deserving of a great, honestly. It's a good animal mascot. I don't think it's quite as iconic as those A's. So we'll put it after them, but still looks good. We have Arkansas State next. They are the Red Wolves, if you couldn't tell what you were looking at there. Looks very much like a red wolf. They used to be the Indians, so they had to rebrand. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with its eyes. Kind of makes it look like it's crying in a way. So I don't know what the intent was there. It looks kind of cool at the same time. And red and black, you can't go wrong with red and black. Yeah, definitely interesting. It definitely looks aggressive too. So I think by all measures it's deserving of a. I think it's I don't know what's going on with the eyes though. So I'll just leave it in good. It making it look like it's kind of crying is an interesting choice. Put it that way. Up next, we got Army West Point, the Black Knights. Very cool logo. Very, I mean, they're a military academy, and you kind of get that vibe from their logo. The sword, like, going through the helmet is interesting, or I guess it's supposed to be going behind the helmet. But, I like what it does, because it kind of has this diagonal line going through the logo, so it kind of catches your eye. And the shield is just a good like 1-2 punch. You got the helmet and sword, and then like the shield with the star. It's a good look. And I think it's going to be our first elite logo, because I really don't know how they can improve their brand. I think it's a huge step up from what they had before. Not that the Black Knight was uncool before, but I think they did a good job making it just like a flat 2D 2-color logo, which I think is a good shorthand for a lot of these college teams to make their branding simple and easy to apply to like merchandise and stuff. Because if your logo is too complicated, you're gonna have some issues. So they simplified it in a lot of ways, and it looks good. All right. So Auburn, the Tigers here, another school in Alabama. Their colors are orange and blue, obviously. They just have an A and a U. And your team name is the Tigers. And you don't really have. They have a couple like alternate logos, but not like a full body tiger or anything like that. So, they could probably make one. But ANU, it's not like a particularly interesting typeface either. I do like a monogram or like a stacked letter logo more than just like a singular letter, but I don't think the stylization of the ANU is super interesting. They keep it plain. They're playing it a little too safe. I do think it is good though, but I will say not as good as Arkansas State. Okay, so that's all the A's. Okay, continuing on. I think I am going to bump up Arkansas State to great because animal mascots are really easy to mess up, but I think that wolf looks really cool. So, leave it at that. Okay, moving on to the B's. We got Ball State here. The Cardinals. There's so many Cardinal teams. It would be very easy to not look unique, but I think they managed to do that still. Their logo kind of has like a 90s clip art kind of vibe, but like in a good way. And you definitely get like a sense of motion from their bird. So I like it quite a lot. I think it will just be in the good category because some of the finer details probably get lost when it's in like a smaller application. So moving on to Baylor, they just got a B and a U. And honestly, I think their previous B and U was better. Because the current one they got here has like little notches. I guess the idea there is that it makes it look like there's some kind of dynamic thing going on there, but I don't like it. In that particular case, I'm tempted to put it in bad even, but I'm not going to. Just mid. We got Boise State next. The Broncos. I think they have quite a good logo. I'm glad that they dropped the full word mark at the bottom they had originally, and they kept it just the horse's head, or the Bronco's head. I think it looks quite good. I like the lines and the one thing that does bother me with Boise State's logo is that the teeth of the Bronco are like orange and not white. I don't know why they would do that, but that bothers me. But I would say it's a great logo, and I would say it's in between the Arkansas schools. All right, Boston College, Eagles. I'm going to say this is a bad logo, and hear me out. On your screen that you're watching this on, I'm trying my best to make these logos visible and like the right size. But in smaller applications, with the eagle over top, the B and the C, I don't think it's easy to tell what you're looking at. And that's a problem, because most of the time when you see this logo, it's going to be on someone's hat or something from far away. And you might not be able to tell that it's an eagle flying in front of a B and a C. And the B and the C have like a style to them too, which I don't mind, but it doesn't look as clean as it should. And I think the B and the C separate from the eagle is fine, because like the eagle looks fine on its own, but together it's just kind of a mess. So they need to figure that out. And embrace probably one of their alternate logos. So up next we have Bowling Green. I think they do the letter thing with the bird in the same logo a lot better. I think Bowling Green's like Boston College if they knew what they were doing. The B is very nicely balanced by the Falcon. And the B and the G have their own like unique font compared to other schools. So I think that's major bonus points for me. I would say this is a good logo. Maybe the pointiness is trying a little bit too hard, and maybe that's why it's not great. You know, like the pointiness on the serifs, I guess, of the B. I mean, I don't want to put my personal bias thinks it's a great logo, but I think if you like polled a bunch of people, they would probably rate it lower than I would. So I'm gonna put it in good. Up next, we got Buffalo, the Bulls. All right, so they kept it simple. It's just blue and white. To me, this reminds me of the Chicago Bulls a lot. Like I think they just copied Chicago's homework, you know? Yeah, it's a weird logo because it's like 2D and flat, which I think is in like two colors, which I think is really good for like branding purposes, like keeping things simple. But then they gave it like a weird amount of detail where it has eyebrows still and stuff. And I think it's kind of like a weird mix. So I think that prevents it from being great. Is it good still, though? I'm going to say it's mid, but it's probably like the best of the mid. I think they could do a better job. So I'll leave it at that. Up next, we have a Y logo. That's for Brigham Young University, BYU. That's what the BYU stands for, by the way, if you didn't know. They're based out of Provo, Utah. Blue and white. Can't go wrong with blue and white. It's just a Y and an oval. But I don't know why, but I really like it. I think it goes... Man. I'm trying to get everything in the screen at once. So I think... I think if Arizona and Alabama aren't great, I think BYU should be too. I'm going to put them up here. It's simple. You know what team it's for when you see it. I think it's pretty iconic. So there you have it. All right, so that's all the B's. We're moving on to C here. We have the California Golden Bears, Cal Berkeley. They just went with a cursive script. Can't go wrong with a cursive script, but nowadays every team is doing it. And that's like Cal's entire brand. I really like their alternate logo. I might pop it on screen for you. But we're sticking to the primary logos with these teams. Cal goes straight to the top of the good category because I think it's clearly better than anything after it, but is not that exciting at the same time. Okay, Central Michigan. I didn't go to CMU. I went to EMU, so I'm not supposed to like them. They are the Chippewas. So the C, they just gave it motion lines, basically. And they centered their entire brand around that. Because you can't really depict a Chippewa like, you know, it's a Native American group that gets into interesting territory. So, yeah, they have some brand issues. The motion lines are not enough to sway me. I think it goes into mid. I think it is better than the other mid logos, but it's just not. It's not good enough. And then we have Charlotte here, the 49ers. And they're named the 49ers for like a dumb reason, because like Charlotte, North Carolina has nothing to do with the California Gold Rush. It's like a different reason. Anyway, their colors are green and white. They kind of, I mean, they're green, white, and gold, but they don't have any gold anywhere. And I don't know, like if you're gonna be green and gold primarily, then like have gold in there somewhere. And also like 49ers Gold Rush. Like that's your whole thing that you decide to center your thing on. The pickaxe in the sea is like a little bit clever, but just the fact that this is like their entire brand, like it's kind of lame. I don't think it's as good as CMUC, to be honest with you. It's like simple, but like too simple. That's my critique there. Okay, up next is Cincinnati. They are the Bearcats. What's a Bearcat? There's actually some kinds of mammals. I forget what they're called, but they're, I mean, I don't know how else you describe it besides a Bearcat. I think that's what their name is kind of going for. It's like some weird kind of mammal that lives in like Southeast Asia or something. Anyway, their logo is a C that's modified into like a paw because we got the claws on top. Again, red and black, good color scheme. It's simple, but like in a good way, unlike Charlotte. And I'm going to put it ahead of Bowling Green. I'm actually going to move Auburn up a little bit too, just for clarity. Okay, Clemson University, the Tigers. Their logo is just a tiger paw. Not terribly exciting. Yeah, I mean, there's not really much to say about it. I think it's better than Cincinnati, since they're right next to each other and they're both like paw logos. I think Clemson's slightly better. Okay, Coastal Carolina. Their mascot is the Chanticleers, or that's their team name anyway. I guess their mascot is kind of like a rooster. A Chanticleer is like it's a thing referencing a poem. I don't think it's a real animal. So now you know that. Their colors are teal and black, but they also have this like ugly kind of gold color, but not, like bronze in their logo. It's interesting. The bird looks aggressive. I'll give them that. I think it's like on par with Bowling Green, I'd say. And teal is like an awesome color to work with. I would put it one slot behind them. Is it better than Ball State though? I think so, probably. Okay, Colorado. They're the Buffaloes, if you didn't know. They're keeping things real simple. It's just the outline of a buffalo with CU in front of it, and I gotta say, it's effective. I would put that in the elite category. I really would. It's not like overly detailed. It's black and gold, good color scheme. There's just nothing to complain about there. So I think it's a good logo. Colorado State, they went with a circular logo with a ram inside the circle. Perfectly fine, nothing wrong with it. I think the ram is like a little bit too detailed, maybe. I don't think it looks bad, but I think in certain contexts, it probably doesn't look as good. Um, so for that reason, I think it's not quite elite. I will put it in the great category. I think it's the best animal logo so far. Besides the buffalo. Sorry, Rams fans. I know you don't like the Buffaloes, but anyway, moving on to Delaware, who is officially an FBS team. They moved up not that long ago. They are the Blue Hens, which is funny when you think about like a hen being like a female chicken, and like footballs like men. But yeah, they're the Blue Hens. And their logo looks exactly like what you think it would. I think it's a decent logo. It's blue and yellow, doesn't look bad. It's kind of overly detailed. Like maybe it could be simplified. I'd say it's better than Ball State and really comparable to Coastal Carolina. So we'll put it right in there in the good category. Duke, the Blue Devils. They got a letter logo. Their letter is stylized. Blue and white looks good. So they have that going for them. But yeah, I don't like the diamond shape thing in the middle, to be honest. It just doesn't do it for me. It's very like angular on one side and then like curvy on the other side. Not the best. I'd put it like above the other ones in mid, but I think it's just mid. East Carolina. They're the Pirates, obviously. They have a skull and crossbones with a pirate hat. That's awesome. Might be harder to see on your screen, but yes, that skull is like giving a facial expression. Not sure how that's possible, but it is aggressive. And plus they're purple, so can't go wrong with that. I think it's a good logo. I would rate it above Arizona State. And now that we're thinking about it, we're going to move Arizona State down to mid because like especially just like in the example pick with like on a black background, it doesn't look good, to be honest. So, all right. I just realized how agonizingly slow I'm doing this. I am sorry. Obviously skip ahead to like see the schools you want. I don't know. I should have said that at the beginning, but let's try to do this a little bit faster. EMU is up next. They are my alma mater, but sadly they have terrible branding. It's just an E. It's so boring. And like they don't even try to do anything with it really. So I'm going to put it in this category, mid. Okay, FIU, Panthers, it's just FIU and a Panther, as you'd expect. I mean, at least they're trying to do something. I'd put it probably the top of mid. FAU, they have a very stylized owl. Blue and red looks good. I'd certainly put them in the good category. I think they're right after Auburn, I think. The Florida Gators. They got a unique mascot. Honestly, they go into elite, I think. When I think of college sports, I think of the Florida Gators logo. I really do. Florida State. Bit of a controversial one for some people because they did update their logo and a lot of people like the older one better. The new one, they think the guy looks too much like Elvis, which I can see. And he's supposed to be a Seminole, so, I think Florida State, even updated, is still in the great category. And I would put it after Colorado State. Fresno State, they're the Bulldogs. I don't like Bulldogs as a mascot. but I have to admit that their Bulldog logo is pretty good as far as Bulldog logos go. Um, I would put it in the good category. It's not quite as stylized as FAU maybe, but we'll put them right there. Georgia, it's just a G in an oval. And I can't remember the story if the Green Bay Packers were first or if Georgia was first. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's just a G. Not that exciting for me. Where do I put it though? I'll put it right after Clemson. Georgia Southern, they are the Eagles. Blue and gold, I think. Their Eagles not particularly good though, to be honest with you. I'd put them in the mid category. I really don't like their eagle, but at least they're bold enough to try. Georgia State Panthers. Their panther is like overly detailed, man. I think he looks kind of weird. Yeah, I'm gonna put him in mid as well, right ahead of Buffalo. Georgia Tech G&T. Nothing too exciting about the G&T. I will put it in good because I think it looks okay, but like towards the end. Yeah. Hawaii. Now, that's a Hawaiian looking H if I've ever seen one. In fact, Hawaii is one of my favorite logos. They go into elite for me. They really do. It's one of the best letter logos there is. Followed up by Houston, not nearly as exciting. Just a U and an H. I do like a 2-letter combo over most. I'd actually, well, I suppose if GT can be in that category, they can too. I'd say Houston's even better than Georgia Tech. Illinois, it's just an I. It's inoffensive as could be. So they go in mid. Indiana is an I and a U. As a kid, I always thought it was a menorah. I think that's fair. IU, I think it's a good logo. I think it's I think it's up there with Georgia in terms of letter logos. So we'll put it there. This particular one is like the outline rather than it just being solid white on a red background. That looks better than the outlined one, but it's still the primary logo, so it's fine. Iowa Hawkeyes. That's a good logo. Is it great though? I think it's just good, but it's like the best of the good. Then we have Iowa State. Now they're the Cyclones, and their alternate logo is like a cardinal in a like forming a tornado or a cyclone, which is really cool. But their primary is just an I with state written across it. So not as exciting. I think the style to it is good enough to put it in the good category. If I could stop right clicking on my laptop, that'd be great. I'll put it after Georgia Tech. That seems fair to me. I don't like the beveling in the logo. We'll put it in mid. Jacksonville State. They are the Gamecocks. They have a crazy looking logo because the bird's like jumping right at you. But it's very oval shaped. Not excited about that. I think it does enough to be good rather than just mid, but it's not horribly exciting either. JMU, James Madison, the Dukes. Their primary logo is legitimately just the letters J, M, and U. So that's boring. Um, I'll put them ahead of FIU though. Kansas, uh, they are the Jayhawks. A Jayhawk is not a real animal. You might be able to tell because the bird is wearing shoes. But yeah, it's too long to explain their nickname, even though I want to. It is. I mean, they're trying. They're doing something with it. I think Kansas does break into the good category, but kind of towards the bottom. Kansas State. Now, this logo is copied by basically any high school in the U.S. named Wildcats, and you can see why. It's really simple. It's effective. You know what you're looking at. So they go into the elite category. I'm going to put them there for a second. Go to scroll to the top. Boom. Kennesaw State. They're the other KSU. The style to their letters is just so weird. I'll give them points for like trying, but I don't like how elongated the letters are. But black and yellow's not bad. I think it's worse than Duke and CMU. We'll put it right there. Kent State, the Golden Flashes. What is a Golden Flash, you might ask? I don't think they know either. But they decided to go with like a bird thing and a K. I like the K. I like the angle on the K. But I think this is a bad logo. Sorry, Kent State. Kentucky. U and K. They go right next to Houston. I think they go one ahead of Houston. Because I feel like their font is a little bit better than Houston's, even though it's like minute differences. Liberty. The Flames. They got like a bird thing going on, but like he's made out of flames. I don't mind their like font, but I would say that's pretty mid. And like towards the bottom. I don't comparing them to the other letter logos. I don't know. I'll put them right there. The Ragin' Cajuns, Louisiana. They actually have one of the best brandings, I think, of any team, but you wouldn't know that from their primary logo because it's just a word mark. Word marks as logos are bad. Because if you can't read the letters from a distance, then, you can't tell who you're looking at. Louisiana Tech. They put the T over the state of Louisiana. Okay. It's not exciting, but at least they're doing something. We love a good state outline logo. Louisville, the Cardinals. They decided to give the Cardinal teeth. Good choice, I guess, because it kind of works for a sports team. I think Louisville's in the same vein as like a Fresno State. I'd put them behind Georgia though. LSU, their logo is just LS and U. I like the font though. We'll give them points there. I think that's the best you could get for like a mid logo. Obviously the tiger would probably be better, but they don't use that as a primary, so is what it is. Marshall. See, I don't really like their M that much, and then they slapped the bison on top of it, and it's kind of a mess. And they put the word mark at the bottom. Now, I think a lot of times their primary is probably just the M. I'm going to put this particular combo with all of those things put together in the bad category. So, those are my thoughts. Maryland, they have another just M, and they have like the little Maryland state flag thing beneath it. I like the M. It has some style to it, but it's also kind of ugly at the same time. So I'll put it in mid. I like different fonts. I do, but I don't know. It's not good or bad. It's not bad either. Put it that way. Memphis has an M with a tiger leaping over it. Their colors are blue and gray. For their tiger, if you look at it up close, looks really bad. To the point where, like, the M is fine, but the tiger itself, not good. They need to update the tiger. From a distance, he looks fine, but don't look at the tiger up close. Miami, the U, because they're the University of Miami, they go straight to elite. That logo is iconic. It's been copied by all the high schools, even when it doesn't make sense, even when they're not like a U team, or like they'll modify it into like a different letter half the time. But Miami is pretty awesome looking. Okay, continuing on, we have Miami University. That's in Ohio, the Red Hawks. They just have an M. Oh my gosh. That's just like Maryland's, I think, but a little bit better. Michigan State, ahead of Michigan, alphabetically, apparently. I'm a Michigan fan mostly, but I got to admit, Michigan State's logo is pretty good, and they go straight into elite. Michigan, they got a mid logo, let's be honest. It's an M. I think it's one of the better, like, just standard issue letter logos, but still. Middle Tennessee, they got an M and a T, but also a flying horse with wings, which is pretty sweet, like a Pegasus thing. Now, the Pegasus thing is kind of drawn poorly, but I think they absolutely get points for trying. I'll even put it in the good category, towards the bottom. Minnesota, they have an M, but like a highly stylized one. Kind of looks like a spider crouching. I've heard that being said before. Can't deny those allegations. They go into mid, I think. Where in mid, though? Ahead of Georgia State. Mississippi State, I think technically they've rebranded where they have like a cursive script state logo now that reads state. I don't like that logo at all. Any word mark that's just a word mark is a bad branding choice, I think. But anyway, the logo here is an M with state written across it in a ribbon. I like the M. I'll put it right behind Michigan, I think. It's not a good or a bad logo. It's okay. Missouri State, the Bears. I like their logo. It's a little like overly detailed though. I'd put it behind some of these letter logos, honestly. I'd put it ahead of Duke. Put it in there. So pretty much as mid as you can get. It's interesting. It's unique. I'll give them that. Missouri, they are the Tigers. I think they have a really good animal logo. Like, just as good as Arkansas, if not better. I think they're one better than Arkansas. I know that's kind of a forced rivalry, Missouri and Arkansas in football, but there you have it. Navy, their primary logo is like an N and a star, which is fine and fitting of the Navy, but then they also have to slap Navy, the word Navy, underneath the N, like they're not confident that people would know who they are, so that's lame. I'll put them in the mid category. NC State, they've embraced like the old style, like cartoon character, like walking with swag logo, and then they've uh, reduced that to just the head of the wolf because they're the wolf pack. I think it looks pretty good, actually. I'd even say great. And I'd put it ahead of Arkansas as well. So let's get that in screen. NC State up there. Nebraska, just an N. Not exciting. I'd put them behind Michigan, to be honest. Nevada, they got a wolf that's got some style to it. But then they threw Nevada over top because they're not confident in their logo, I guess. I think despite the word mark, it's still a good logo, but towards the bottom. New Mexico. I don't like the front-facing logo as much as they have one. They have like an alternate that's like from a side profile that I think is a little bit better. That being said, I think it's a good logo, and I put it ahead of East Carolina and Ball State and Delaware. New Mexico State. I think the only logo that has a character with a gun. So there's that. That's pretty cool. They are the Aggies, which is kind of a generic, like what even is an Aggie? He's depicted as like a cowboy. I think it's a good logo. And probably one of the best human logos. They're kind of hard to rank. Their branding's not as strong as some other teams, but their logo is fine. Notre Dame, just an N and a D. They get points for it being two letters stacked on top of each other, in my mind. Just like Auburn. But now that I think about it, is Auburn really that good of a logo? Well, it can't question my decisions now. We're too late into this. North Carolina, another interlocking letter logo. Just like Notre Dame, I'll put them right next to each other. North Texas, the mean green, they went with like a diving bird kind of thing. It's alright. I don't mind it. It's an okay logo. It's simple. Pretty similar to Nevada, I guess. Northern Illinois, the Huskies. I like their logo. Simple, straight to the point. I think that's a fine place for them. Northwestern, their Wildcat kind of looks crappy. Not gonna lie. And the N looks kind of weird too. So I'm gonna put them in mid. Ahead of the Navy, though. Well, no. We're going to move them down lower. Ohio Bobcats. I think their Bobcat looks pretty strong. I like the Ohio word mark. That's a good logo. We'll put them ahead of Auburn. I think that's a good place for them. Ohio State. It's just an O and then a word mark. So it's just okay. Like, they're definitely better than some of these other teams in this category. I'll put them right about there. I think it's a fair spot for them. Oklahoma is just an O and a U. I don't know how, but the letters feel Oklahoma-like to me. So I think they get points for that. I'll put them ahead of Kentucky. Oklahoma State, OSU. They got like a thing going on with the S. I don't know. They're doing something with it. I'll put them one better than Oklahoma just to make their fans, Oklahoma fans, mad. Old Dominion. It's a crown. And then they have ODU. They have some cool alternate logos. I'll put them at the end of the good category. Ole Miss, they just went with like a cursive Sharpie kind of look. It's all right. What can I say? Um, it is a word mark though, but it looks better than like the Raging Cajuns word mark. Um, I'll put them ahead of Middle Tennessee. Oregon, it's an O. It's just an O, but I kind of like it though. Uh, Something about the line weights on it or whatever makes it pretty good. I think they're one better than the other O team, Ohio State. Oregon State, that's a beaver. To me, it doesn't really look like a beaver, but I think they do enough to get in the good category. Yeah, that's fair. Penn State, good logo, not great. I think it's fair to say. Pitt, they just went with like cursive Sharpie. I'll put them right next to Ole Miss. I think they're one worse. Purdue is a P, but it's honestly doesn't look like a great letter logo, if you ask me. Man, I don't even know what to do. I think they're better than Minnesota and Charlotte, and I'll put them right there. Rice, I like an old English R. I think that looks good. We can actually make the page bigger, I think. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. That might help. Okay, Rice. I think Rice goes in great, not gonna lie. Rutgers is like Rice, but with no swag. So they go in mid. And I think they do the letter logo better than Purdue. Sam Houston is the Bearcat team. They have a paw print and an S and an H. Simple, clean, two-color thing, very reminiscent of Houston, so I'll put him right next to him. San Diego State. I can see what they're going for because they're the Aztecs. SD. Yeah, I don't think they quite pull it off very well, though. In fact, I think they're kind of towards the bottom of mid. San Jose State. I think that's a great logo. That seems like a good spot for them. SMU is just like an outline of a horse, but I think there's something pretty awesome about that. I think they go in great. They're like Arkansas, but better because they keep it even simpler. South Alabama, you guys got to rebrand. What is that? It's not good. South Carolina is the letter C for Carolina and a gamecock in the middle. It's kind of hard to tell what you're looking at from far away or when it's small. I think it's only a mid logo. I think it's better than most other mid logos, but not the best. South Florida, it's a U in the shape of a bowl for USF. I think this is actually a good logo. I think it fits well within that category of schools. Right there. Southern Miss, the Golden Eagles, they have a good eagle logo. They actually had to change their logo because Iowa was saying it was too similar to their logo. I'm going to put them right next to each other. I think they both look good. I think Southern Miss actually might be even one better, honestly. Stanford has an S with a tree in front of it. Not bad, not good. Syracuse is just an S. Not bad, not good. TCU. Now, they have a cool mascot, the Horned Frogs. But their primary is just the word mark, I think, TCU. I'll put them right in the line with the other schools in that neighborhood. Probably better than Iowa State, though. Temple, they got a T, but it's a highly stylized one. They leave the ends open on it. I don't know. Not really feeling it. I think it's one of the not great letter logos. They tried something. I'll give them some credit, but it's just kind of mid. Whew. Tennessee, the Power T. That's a good logo. It's just as iconic as like the Oregon O. It is just a letter though, without quite the same aura as some of the ones in great. Texas A&M, they really forced the Texas state outline on so many schools. So many teams in Texas do it. Texas A&M would be good if it wasn't for the bevel and the T. I like the flat 2D one much better. In fact, I'll put them right there. Texas, so they have a very simple but effective logo. They go in elite, actually. And ahead of Kansas State, I think, too. They're up there. Texas State, better when it's just the Bobcat versus the Bobcat in Texas. It's similar to like Missouri State's kind of style, which is just okay. Texas Tech. I think this is one of the last seasons they'll have the bevel and the T, and it'll be like a flat 2D logo. I think the bevel actually works for them, whereas it doesn't work for Texas A&M. The stacked T's are fine, but it is what it is. Toledo, they're the Rockets. I like the Rocket. Don't like that they're relying so heavily on the Toledo word mark. Their logo ends up being kind of mid towards the bottom. I wouldn't say it's a bad. It's bordering on bad though, because I think it's hard to tell that it's a rocket too. So I'm putting it in bad. Troy, they're going with a T that looks like a sword. That's just mid. It's boring. Right after Eastern, I think. Tulane has an anthropomorphic angry wave, and that's going straight into elite. I think that actually might be the second best logo in all of college football. Tulsa, they got like a hurricane warning flag, even though we're talking about Tulsa, Oklahoma here. The fact that they're the Golden Hurricane is so stupid. They also go with like a cursive word mark. It's okay. It's just mid. The hurricane warning flag does bump them up a lot though. UAB has a dragon, which is pretty unique. I think that gives them into great territory towards the bottom. UCF, the Knights, just a word mark logo or like a acronym. Not that exciting. Put them in that kind of area. UCLA, they went with cursive. Cursive ends up looking quite a bit better than most of these other schools. I think they do it better than Ole Miss and Pitt. UConn is the Huskies. They have a really good animal logo. I think that gets them into great. Might be the best animal logo, at least in that category. It's a good logo. Uh, Louisiana Monroe. I think their logo is not the best. I think it is mid. I think it's a little bit hard to tell what it even is. It's like a bird. It's the bird is making part of the L, but I think it's hard to tell from a distance. UMass is like the most mid logo ever. It's going to the end of that category. UNLV is just a word mark logo. Not exciting. Slap them right there. USC, one of the more well-known football teams out there, but their SC is not exciting. I'll put them ahead of Texas A&M though. Seems fair to me. Utah State, it's the letter U with the state written across, which ends up being really similar to UMass, honestly. Their logo is pretty mid. Utah, they've simplified to just a U logo. Like they had like a war drum thing going on with a feather, but now it's just the U stacked on top of the U. Utah Utes, Utah University, or University of Utah, whatever. Double stack letters reminds me of Texas Tech, so I'll put them right next to each other. Seems fair. Oop. UTEP, Texas El Paso, just kind of boring. Their logo. UTSA, they have a Roadrunner as their mascot, which is a good mascot, but I think they do the side profile thing better than Oregon State. Vanderbilt's got a V with a gradient on it. Gradients are a no-no. They honestly are one of the worst letter logos. So Virginia, they got the V with the swords. Pretty good. Can't complain about Virginia. It seems like an okay spot for them. Maybe ahead of some of these other... I mean, they got swords. They're right next to ECU. That makes sense. Virginia Tech, I don't like their choice of font as much. I'll put them right after SC. Wake Forest, their W and F really fits Wake Forest, like vibe-wise. I'll give them that. I think it's one of the better... I'd put it like next to UK and Oklahoma and stuff like that. It's better logo than Oklahoma State, I think. And honestly, the more I look at it, the more I like it. We'll keep moving them up. All right. Washington, just a W. I think it's one of the better letter logos, but it's not the best. I'll put it after Nebraska. Washington State, it's a stylized WS in the shape of a cougar, their mascot. I like the creativity, but I'm not going to suggest this is like an amazing logo either. I'll put them ahead of South Carolina. West Virginia, I like the style of the W and V. I'll put them ahead of Texas Tech. Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers, is just a detached hand waving a flag that says W, or like a towel that says WKU. I don't know. I'm not impressed. Western Michigan, rebrand immediately. And I say that as an Eastern fan, but like, you had a perfectly fine logo, and then they inverted the colors, which makes no sense. Like, the light colors are on the bottom, so it's like they don't know how shadows work anymore. It's one of the worst rebrands ever, and they need to fix it immediately. And we got Wisconsin, the Flying W, one of the better letter logos, but not as good as Washington. And Wyoming. Wyoming has a good logo. It's actually a registered trademark by the state of Wyoming. Fun fact. I would venture to say it's even great. So there you have it. Let me get all this in one shot so you can see it all. Yeah, there you have it. That's my take. If you watch this whole thing, why? This took way too long. But also, thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good one.